pillars community attracts. And to me, this is probably the most obvious, the pillar that stands out the most. Back in 1976, my family moved from Colorado Springs to Kansas City. I was going to Shawnee Mission West. Shortly after that, some friends invited me up to the Icthus House, which was this, it was over on the Missouri side. It was, you had to lock your doors when you went over there. And there were all these friends around. It was the first time I'd ever really been around anything like this. I think it was Jeff Kirby maybe that had painted this picture of Jesus on the window, and it was this beat up old rundown house. And people, Jay Fowler was up there leading music with his kind of long hair and his big old guitar. And then everybody, after the music, just laid down on the floor and started praying. And I'd never been around any of this, so I just laid down. I guess that's what you do. But part of that, with Jesus staring at you in the window, was it was this sense of, oh, I want to be around. What even attracted me there was that these friends had invited me, and I liked these people. There was something about them that was really attractive, and what was going on, and who was there. It was so compelling to me.
First summer I was on summer staff, 1990, they had a 20th summer reunion. So there I am, this getting ready to be a junior in college, and I'm looking around all these old people. They're all like walking around, I'm like, whatever, and they're all very excited to see one another. And I remember we kind of felt kind of cool / like, who are these people? And now I'm like when I show up at something like that, I'm the, who are these people? But I just know that, already then I was seeing that this is a rich heritage, that there's so much story interwoven with it, and God has worked so mightily that it's a family. It's a family it's a family that's been pulled together to experience together and to share together so much of God's work that you just can't help but talk about it. And you do things like throw big reunions and have people from all over the country and world come to it. So
Let's start with, I would say probably the when I became a disciple, someone who really laid down his life, was killed and came again. It was at Icthus. It was at Icthus at K-State, and just having that experience, that community of people who were devoted to discipleship, and were devoted to mission, were devoted to loving people in real ways, in practical ways, is kind of the background of just my testimony.
I got to be involved in summer staff, this crazy thing called summer staff, and the thing that even drew me to that was the people that were there. It was who I get to be connected with on summer staff, and did that for a whole bunch of summers. That was really, Colonial and Icthus were really my first exposure to Christian community, to the body of Christ, and it was awesome.
One of the ways I've seen that would be the fact that you would describe the Icthus movement as a family.
I remember John taking that to an extreme of just inviting us into everything in his life, whether it's taking care of the kids, whether it's fixing the gutters on his house, or driving around and doing errands. We were just always being dragged around in his life.
He didn't just embrace me, he embraced our whole family. My sisters, my brother, my mom, being on summer staff with us one summer as the cook, and then being on staff with Bob for many, many years. And Bob has been there for us, like I said, in the good times and in the really hard times, through loss and grief.
All right, yeah, disjointed business. Here's another little piece. This doesn't have anything to do with a pillar, but it just does have to do with, I want it to be almost stated for the record. Like, when I said earlier about being grafted into the Icthus family, and that's exactly what it was, is that
crossing my legs. What do I do?
Nope,
with
nope.
my
This
hands?
is just bring him up.
First introduction into summer staff was a meeting, and we were all sitting around. I believe it was in the Pounds, and everyone was kind of talking, and all of a sudden this guy with the beard, which I later found out was Eddie Fisher, started barking. He got on all fours and he started barking so ferociously that I got so scared I got on top of the table, and I didn't know what to do. I mean, I thought he was really going to bite me and kill me, and I found out he was the junior high leader. He was a leader. Here I was coming as a teacher.
On our way out of town, we stopped at this banquet, and of course it was free food for me, so I didn't particularly care. And we were sitting at this round table with a half a dozen other folks, and Bob was wearing a short sleeve shirt, and there was some music playing in the background, and Bob would just be sitting there with his hands kind of like this, and he'd be keeping time to the music by flexing his biceps, and they were just bouncing back and forth. And I remember sitting across from him, looking at him, going like, "What are you doing?" That's weird.
At one point, I thought we were going to go Dukes of Hazzard style into the pond, because we went flying over this ridge, and it's like in the air. He turned it, and we landed and just skidded, and then skirted around the pond. And my prayer life increased that day.
My prayer life increased that day.
Jesus liked people who weren't like him, and that's exactly who Bob is. Bob likes people who aren't like him.
I think the other thing along with that is just how Bob and Richard, I think, modeled just community as far as the whole body of Christ, and didn't have to narrow it down to any denomination, and I think that's something that has really impacted us through the years. I think we figured out that you've been like on the staff of 8 different denominations, and just looking for Jesus in people and letting Jesus be the thing that we all hover around and that draws us together, rather than the little details that divide us. And I
said the first thing that we need to do is we decide what's Warnell, what is their target audience, and Warnell or Colonial says as the community around them has changed and everything, there's still been a kind of a desire to reach more the east or the west of state line, the Shawnee Mission schools, and so we decided, are we gonna go be a neighborhood church, or are we gonna try and reach the people across state line? And finally we decided, after some talk, and they put to a vote or something, and decided, okay, the church decided we're going to go across state line. That's going to be our main target audience, because those are the people that are already coming, and they're going to be the ones that invite friends and everything. And so it just makes sense, and it's easier just to continue in that what we're used to and everything. And the consultant looked around, and it was just the church staff and pastors and leaders, and he said, okay, is everybody okay with this? And Bob Lehleitner, and just kind of, Bob's always just kind of got his head back, just kind of arms folded, and he's just like, he raises his hand, and he goes, yeah, I've got a problem with this. And he goes, I must be the only person here who loves black people. And just the room was silent. I'm cracking up. I just can't hold it in. Like, I can't believe Pastor Bob just pretty much called everybody else a racist. But he's like, he goes, I love black people, and I want to reach the community around here.